10-second warning.
Right now, we are live, and I'm excited to be joined by the owner of Butt Out and my cousin from Arizona, Matt Berger. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you for inviting me. Hello, everybody, or at least the I don't know who's watching, but
yeah,
maybe my mom. Maybe my mom.
I certainly hope our moms are watching, but I appreciate you joining me for many reasons. I mean, we're both entrepreneurs in different fields. You're out in AZ. I thought that would be interesting. You're also in the you're a vape guy. I thought it would be interesting to talk about. I think your audio is on that side, right?
Okay, you can hear me okay, right?
Yeah, but I think turn down your audio for your computer a little bit.
Wait, what?
I think turn down your audio on Facebook. Yeah.
Oh, turn down. Wait.
Yeah.
Hold on Facebook.
Yeah.
Or. Oh.
So
is it better? Is it better now?
Yeah, it's good. I appreciate you joining, and I thought it'd be interesting to talk about vaping, and there's a lot of hate on that, a lot of Juul hate these days. But you're persevering in the industry anyway. So first of all, I already gave it away.
You're gonna have to ignore my meowing cat.
No worries.
So anyway, sorry.
Yeah. So tell us where you're at. I know I said Arizona, but specifically.
I'm in my house. I live in Phoenix. I live, 10 minutes from downtown. Okay. So I live in whatever they call Metro Phoenix. So I've lived here in this area within a 1 square mile radius for 10 years, 11 years. So, and then I grew up, I spent a year in Israel when I was 17, and I spent a very, very, very successful year at Yeshiva University the year after, and I've been in Phoenix ever since.
That's awesome. And where is the store located?
So I had, up until my original store, which is the one I have, is like 2 minutes from downtown. It's right on a main strip, or a main street. I had for 6.5 years. I had a shop right on the College Strip, and my lease ended at the end of February. So, and then we can discuss, I'm sure we'll get into the other stuff later, but I decided not to open up a second shop. So I have the one shop, my original one.
Awesome. So tell everyone about Butt Out and how you got into the business, because you were an early adopter. I mean, you were way ahead of everybody as far as in the vape game.
So a good friend of mine I smoked cigarettes, which I picked up at Yeshiva University. So I was able to benefit from that. And then I smoked for pack and a half a day. Not really for any reason. My family, nobody smoked in my family. It wasn't like, it was just kind of, you're young, and it's just something that you do, and I smoked for about 6 years. And in 2009, a good friend of mine, this is very, very, very early on. Good friend of mine, his name's Quentin, one of my best friends, who was a coworker also. He's like, hey, you got to try this. And it was like a little tiny vaping thing. And I lasted 2 weeks, and I went back to cigarettes a couple of years later. He's like, hey, I got like bronchitis or something like that. And like 2 weeks later, he's like, hey, you got to try the new stuff. And really, and it was powerful enough to where it was satisfying. I guess the best way to explain it to people who don't smoke, it's not just the sensation and the nicotine, but it's like the throat hit. It's like a harsh feeling that's unique to inhaling smoke. So it was pretty close to mimicking that, or good enough. And about a month, so that was May 2nd, 2011. That's when I started vaping officially. And a couple months later, the company I was ordering from started offering like a reseller program. So this is I think there was maybe one shop. There was nothing. I mean, I remember going and people, nobody knew what was going on. So it was if you met somebody who vaped, it was like an insane thing. And I remember I did for about a year and a half. I just went to like my friends and different bars and stuff like that, selling vape stuff from my motorcycle. And in April of 2012, right around that time, I remember going to the first shop. And I remember going, wow, I told my dad, who's been, obviously extremely helpful, influential, one of the cornerstones of Bud Out. And I'm like, they're just making money. And so he helped me develop the shop and humble beginnings. And I opened up November 2nd, 2012. And I'm coming up on 8 years.
Wow.
And it feels like I've been doing it forever, but it also feels like it was just yesterday.
Yeah, I mean it's a great success story. I mean that, to be in business, everyone says like the first 3 to 5 years are the growing phases, and to be in business 8 years, means you're a sustainable.
I would have liked to trade the first 3 years with my last 3 years, but we can't always choose our challenges. But it's been, look, we're still plugging along, and thankfully it's with all the stuff that's going on. A lot of very lucky that I haven't been hit. We've been doing okay. I mean, I know so many people that have businesses, jobs, stuff like that, but we've kind of been left alone. We're just doing our thing. We're taking the precautions that we need to do as much as I can to a business open to the public. And when new things develop, we adjust. So we've been doing okay, thankfully.
So
it's just been an adventure, and you know how it is as an entrepreneur. Like when it's going well, you're king of the world, and it's like you're a genius and just perfect. And then when things are tough, it's all your fault and all that. So it's just a balance. And I have great staff. And I have great people around me who have always supported me, whether it's financially, verbally, whatever, to keep me going through tough times.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and you said earlier about you trade your first 3 years for your most recent 3 years. I definitely feel that you need to go through those bumps in the road in order to learn what's up, and that's what makes us successful.
Well, look, because thankfully right now I have the business knowledge. Obviously, look, I knew it was crazy especially that first year. And it was just because I opened up the first shop in, let's say, the Phoenix area, and it just way beyond. I don't have any formal. I have some retail experience and a little bit of sales experience before this, and it just skyrocketed to a point where it was. I was young, and it was like just exploded. So it was tough to deal with just from all sorts of things. You're young and you have money and you're not so responsible and you make hiring mistakes and all that. But, and then right now I have all the knowledge, but thankfully we're kind of moving out of. September was tough with the vaping scare where people were dying from tainted THC cartridges, but, that ended up, the blame got shifted to my industry. So, but, yeah, so, it's like, you can't have, it's like, I just got to get it to where the knowledge and the sales kind of meet at a certain point. That's the best. That's,
Well, that's a good point that you bring up. And I want to ask you about pivoting during COVID. And you said, I would think that just like alcohol sales have gone up, wine sales have gone up, people are nervous. They need their nicotine fix. They need their vape fix. So they come to you. But, as you're talking, like you're in an industry with, with the THC tainted cartridges, with Juul, with all these things going on, you're always constantly having to pivot anyway. So can you talk about how you pivoted, for COVID and how, and maybe it wasn't as tough for you since you're used to it?
it wasn't as tough. So I had, in early March, it's like nobody knew exactly what was going on. You see certain cities that kind of were like sort of late to the game, and then you see New York or countries in Europe, and they're getting locked down. So it was one of those things to where I had a few contingency plans to where I let people know. I said, look, we don't exactly know what's going on. So we do have a website. We got a great website that for e-liquid. So I pack and ship myself. So that was easy for me. I mean, sales have been nice on the website, and we could do, and I offered, because within a 5-mile radius, doing delivery. They got to pay a minimum, and I did that because I don't mind. It doesn't. So I had, now would sales drop pretty drastically if that was the case? Yeah, because you don't have any new customers. You're having customers not coming in and being able to display or sell them new stuff. So thankfully that wasn't the case, but I do have a few contingency plans to where I wouldn't go out of business. I would be able to make money, just an unknown.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, go ahead.
No. So what kind of stuff have you done specifically, like for COVID? I mean, so were you closed at any time and you were shipping directly to folks, or were you allowed to be open the entire time?
So the way and I'll go into some of the disinfecting process, but so we weren't on the essential list, but we weren't on the non-essential list either. So I'm like, look, if they tell me I need to close, then okay, but it's a small shop. There's really not a lot of walk-in traffic. My 10-piece shop, I would have closed just for a multitude of reasons. So that timing was good, but I just, like, again, like it's easy for me to maintain control over my customer base, whether it's social distance and stuff like that. It's not like where I'm having just groups of people come in, somebody comes in, somebody else comes in, I'll say, hey, go ahead and sit over there. You know what I mean? So, and then in terms of things that we've done that are different, we used to, for many years, just since the beginning, we used to have, so we have my own production facility. So for our e-liquid, our own mixing, whatever facility. And
so you're vertically integrated.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. No, it's great. I mean, because the flavors are really good. But we used to have people sample it for years. And we stopped right at the beginning. I'm like, I can't, because even though we used, different disposable tips, it was too much. So we did that. And then what else did we start? A lot of hand sanitizer, disinfecting everything there's not too many points of contact where customers, like 4 points of contact that customers can touch. Bryce, my other employee, does it to where he takes the customer's credit card. We have one of those sneeze guards, which my dad bought, and he's like, make sure you take a picture that it's there. And we kind of blocked off our lounge area. So, I mean, again, like, the only thing that we haven't done so every Sunday, and also every Sunday, I do a full disinfecting of everything. The only thing I haven't done, which is something I've considered and I'm starting to consider, because Arizona's getting hit hard, like the highest rate in the country or the world. So I haven't made wearing masks mandatory in my shop for customers, or so that's something to where, like, look, realistically, and there are people who will sometimes throw a fit if they have to wear a mask, if they're in Arizona. So it's like one of those things to where, like, we're doing okay, but it's like, business versus this. So I kind of wish that the governor would go ahead and make it mandatory, so I wouldn't have to deal with that. But recently, within the past few days, we've been my dad got me some masks, so we've been basically saying, hey, here's a mask, you can go ahead and keep it. I would say 40% of our customers, especially 90% of the older customers, wear masks. So we've been, it's pretty decent, but it's one of those things to where it would kind of take it out of my hands. And I don't know if that makes sense. And it sucks that I have to even consider that. If that, you know what I mean? To be like, geez, like, I don't want to lose any business,
No, that makes sense. And also, I mean, I find this to be even more fascinating. I'm down in New Orleans now.
Oh, you're back?
Yeah, back in New Orleans, and here, like, a lot of people are wearing masks, but a lot of them are not. We walk around without a mask unless I go into a store.
Me too.
Yeah, but up in New York, where we just were, everyone was wearing a mask. You didn't leave the house without a mask. So I'm saying just culturally, it's interesting to see the differences and the precautions. But yeah, so tell us a little bit more, like, what's it on the ground? Were they not as scared and more hesitant about the pandemic prior, and now that numbers are increasing, is it a little bit more of a fear factor in Arizona? Or what's the general pulse?
I think Arizona wasn't crazy late to the game. I think a little bit, but everybody was pretty nervous. They did do like a shutdown of schools, bars, restaurants, stuff like that. There's 3 places where I don't wear a mask. My boxing gym, my lifting gym, which is basically me and one other person, and the boxing gym is very small, and my shop, because I can either vouch or control the cleanliness of that. If I'm going to the store, something like that, I'm very paranoid. And also, like you said, cultural, sometimes you got to play society's game a little bit. And that's okay. But Arizona, the governor was like, yeah, we got this lockdown, whatever. We're not going to enforce it, and then they opened things up Memorial Day. And it was like, nobody cared. After that, nobody cared. And it's ridiculous because and look, not nobody. There were a lot of people that didn't, and it sucks because it's a slap in the face to the people that lost jobs or a lot of money. And it's like, you don't just pretend that you care a little bit. You don't have to necessarily wear a mask, but maintain some social distance. And the difference, and then so we had that. We're starting to see spikes with that. And then the protest is a little different because people were pretty good wearing masks and stuff like that. And it's not, is there going to be cases resulting from that? Absolutely. But it's one of those things to where it's not, people weren't doing it for fun. So it's one of those things to where it's like, it's just the timing was terrible, obviously to have these, with George Floyd and all these things happen right during this time that, especially during a pandemic. But again, it was necessary, I think, from a social instance. Look, there's been serious changes. It's not enough. We can get, maybe we'll do that on the next podcast. But that wasn't for fun. So it's different. And Ashley, people are not doing what they need to do.
Ashley Thomas, who's watching, just said that it was Doug Ducey's lax tone at the start, saying that you can golf if you want. Do you think that
Ashley Thomas is my fiance?
Yeah.
By the way, so hello.
Well, I'm glad she's watching, and your mom's watching too.
Hey, what's going on, Mom? So good.
So let's let's talk a little bit more about let's talk about when you guys got blamed, your industry got blamed for the tainted THC cartridges, and also just the industry getting hit. You have the FDA, CDC running ads against Juul, running really attacking the vape industry. And what's your position?
So, like, historically, there's been really 4 instances where there's been a lot of pushback or negative press against vaping. There was batteries exploding, which is terrible optics. That's generally from people misusing devices that you could build or whatever. Not really anything that I sold. And that falls a little bit on the customer, but it falls upon the shop. Like, if you're going to sell this stuff, you better explain it. But anyway, the devices have gone more toward almost always regulated stuff. So that's not really an issue. And then popcorn lung, which, and again, this is based on what I've read. This is not me as a scientist, because I'm not. Although I think I got a chemistry and biology in high school. So anyway, there is, the reason they call it popcorn lung is there were people that developed serious lung diseases who worked in popcorn factories, and the potential link was a compound called diacetyl, and that is found in some e-liquid that it gives it like a buttery flavor. So we do have some flavors with that. And that compound was found in a lot higher concentration in cigarettes, and there weren't any link cases. So again, this is, and then the third thing was Juul, and Juul and its similar devices, Enjoy, which is basically small, very high nicotine devices. And I almost put myself, look, I've made mistakes and stuff like that as a business owner, but I probably put my mill shop out of business because I was probably a year and a half late to selling those style devices because the customer base was very young. We're talking people 18, we're talking young people using them when they were underage because they're inexpensive, they're easy to hide, they have a ton of nicotine, so you're getting a buzz off it versus more of like a neutral thing, so you don't smoke cigarettes. And a lot of them never even smoked, so I really didn't want to make money off getting young people addicted to a bunch of nicotine. Look, if it's an adult, I believe that and whatever, you're not supposed to make health claims or whatever according to the FDA, but I think the government has some other things to worry about right now. So cigarettes are a proven harm. E-liquid, I would expect there to be some long-term issues. The long-term issues, what are they? I don't know. I've been vaping 9 years without any issues, but I can't imagine that inhaling flavoring and chemicals for decades is going to be good for you. But again, it's about harm reduction. It's that's I didn't feel like Juul's fit that category. And then so they've been, and also the whole, when they say, oh, vaping is big tobacco trying to get kids hooked, that became true with Juul now that Altria bought a whole bunch of their stuff, so or bought a lot of their stock. And then the most recent thing was people were dying from vaping, not from the stuff that I sell, but from compound vitamin E and tainted or in whatever black market THC cartridges, because that is it's a cutting agent basically to because that stuff is very expensive. so they could make it cheap. And that stuff will solidify in your lungs and kill you. So people were dying, and we kind of got blamed for that, even though not we kind of got blamed. I had a really nice wholesale thing going on that was, increasing every month from like April, May, June, July, August. And I woke up one day and it was gone overnight. And I had customers going back to cigarettes. So that was pretty tough. And it's tough to be like, look, what am I going to do? I'm going to blame people for being scared away. They're seeing people die from this, but really the only thing that this had in common with those cartridges was just the manner that it was inhaled. And then of course people stopped dying and everybody forgot about it.
I mean, I know some people who vape, and like bad news story after bad news story, they're still vaping. I mean, I think that there's still a following. Do you think that, did you lose some customers because of that?
A little bit, but not too much. And I think it scared away new customers for a while. But look, if this was killing people, I wouldn't sell it. I'm not. Why would I do that? I'm not going to feel like I feel like for a business that sells an addictive product, I feel like I'm doing selling a reasonably ethical product in a reasonably ethical way, and not something that's just going to kill a bunch of people. I would shut my business if that was the case. So I think people realize that when people stop dying. So, but it's tough. I mean, are there elements of shadiness and corruption that impact this? Sure. But I think most of it, people are just worried, and they see a bunch of kids getting addicted to that stuff, which is a legitimate issue. And it's, for e-cigarette companies and tobacco to be like, no, it's not an issue. It's not necessarily the most trustworthy industry. So, look, all I can tell is that if you smoke cigarettes and you can't quit the old fat or whatever, this is not a bad alternative.
I mean, I commend you for saying all this, but also for for talking about how you waited out a year and a half to not stock Juul. I mean, do you think that played a part in that? I mean, because that was near college town. I think that's a tough.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, just for God, I can't. Hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of business. But
I mean, it's a lot to give up.
What kind of? I mean, look, it's hindsight 2020, and it sucks because there's some times where I'm like, geez, should I have done that? But I don't know. What kind of legacy do you leave behind?
You got to sleep at night.
I don't sleep very well, so maybe I should have sold the Juul anyway. It wouldn't have mattered. No, but I definitely am able to feel good about what I do in every way. I don't feel any guilt. I don't feel like I'm doing anything wrong. I don't target towards the wrong people, and we sell a quality product with batch control. So I'm pretty good with that.
Cool. So now I want to talk about something else. You have like a cult following, both on Facebook with your fans, your customers. They're fans. I'm going to call them fans. I was silly today. I usually wear HeraldPR branded stuff, but nothing can be branding like you got to show everyone your arm.
I got this when I was 1 year in business on my 1 year anniversary party, and I was originally going to get it here. And my dad's like, what if you have to get a normal job? So I got it here. And 18 people also have butt out tattoos.
Oh, that's
so
good.
That was like, and there's people, I mean, look, that it's not just a shared journey. Like for people who who thought they were going to die as smokers with emphysema and COPD to all of a sudden at least get something that's probably going to mitigate a lot of those issues. They're happy. But not just that, like I really, for all the especially early on, for all the gaps in my skill set, I've always tried to make sure that I deliver. I'm pretty confident in saying that I deliver the best retail experience of any small retail shop in the country. I'm pretty confident. And that is not like because we live in a world that's not so friendly. We will make everybody feel at home. We don't really have TVs or anything. And we're welcoming to everybody. It doesn't matter like who you are. It's whatever you would, the term safe space may be slightly overused, but that's something that we offer. And we really have built a reputation of trust. We don't mess around with if something goes wrong, we take care of it. I mean, you hear so many horror stories about customer service everywhere. That's not the case. Never. I can't remember even the last time I had any sort of negative feedback. That's how long it's been. I don't remember. And there's been a couple of times, you get a negative review and I'll figure out who it is and call them and they're just frustrated. And I hear them, I understand, and I apologize and I take care of it right away. So it's all about maintaining a good PR, so to speak. You always want to be upfront, and if you make a mistake, you own it immediately.
Absolutely.
And you get ahead of it. You get ahead of any negative things.
That's good advice. So before we wrap up, where can everyone find you online? I know it's Matt Berger on Facebook, and again, you're super active.
Yes. You can find me at buttoutecigs.com, BUTTOUTECIGS.com. Use code 2020 for 20% off. And if anybody, feel free to friend me. I don't know who's watching, but ask me any. Also, a lot of people are still concerned about vaping. So if there's any parents or anything, they got young teens, or you could just ask me and I'll give you straight up advice. So yeah.
Matt, I appreciate you joining me, and I look forward to seeing you soon, man.
I appreciate you. All right. Love you, cuz.
You too, brother.